Hey, welcome back to the TechBilly83 channel. It's a few days later, and some battery cables have arrived. Now, I said in the previous video, and if I sound like I have a head cold, it's because I have a head cold. So I said in a previous video that I was going to be making some cables to attach our deep cell batteries. Come on, get out of there. These big monster deep cell batteries into the connectors that are built into this battery box. Lo and behold, I happened to find on eBay the actual cables that go to the OEM batteries that came when you bought this from APC or whoever the heck you bought it from. The issue that we have right now is the terminal apparently is a 1/4 inch hole. So we need to drill that out a little bit because these are 5/16 studs. So I'm not too worried about the integrity of this terminal. It's okay. You don't need to worry about it. It's my terminal, not yours. So we have our friend the step bit and some pliers so that we don't grind up our fingers. We're just going to drill these out. There. Oh, that was real easy. So now we just got to do that like 7 more times. I did try to find connectors, but between Tractor Supply, Lowe's runnings, nobody really had 5/16 hole for number 6 wire. They had everything else. So I said, screw it, we're just going to modify these ones. Okay, there's one. These terminals are a little different, but they're still 1/4 inch. So we're actually going to flatten this guy out. And that cable's kind of corroded. I wonder if I want to use a different one. So I found 10 of these. So I got some more sitting over here. Yeah, so when I grabbed what I grabbed to do this here, I just kind of went based on appearance of the wire, but that one had nice colored wire, but apparently the terminals were all jacked up. So continuing on. And we just got to get the other side to kind of deburr it. So the batteries up in the UPS and the chicken coop need to be replaced, and I'm kind of prioritizing this right now over continuing troubleshooting the generator. Generator project part 4. We got into some engine troubleshooting. Basically, right now at this point, it's running a lot better. I'm going to go over that in another video. I'm going to make like a part 4B here shortly after I finish this. I tested some automatic transfers, from failure to backup on the transfer switch. And when the generator is taking load right now, it won't hold the load. So I got 2 things I'm going to do to troubleshoot that. And basically I'm going to verify fuel supply using a water column meter, and I'm going to change the spark plugs, because I did determine that all that backfiring that it was doing was because of spark plugs. There was one in there, one of the 2 was like really rusty and nasty. So hopefully that's not like an indication of what's going on in the cylinder bore. But we're going to get to that here shortly. But I got to get this UPS up in the chicken coop with some better batteries, because when I'm working on the the generator and transferring it, back and forth from utility to emergency power, the chicken coop drops. And the fire alarm goes off in the chicken coop because the alarm apparently goes off when it loses power. The detectors themselves have the 10-year lithium-ion battery, and they're hardwired 120 detectors. They're like those BRK hardline ones that have the accessory line so that you can hit the relay and then do things after the relay. I happen to have it hooked into Home Assistant so that we get alerts. But those fire alarms are actually plugged into the UPS. Idea being, if we lose power at the site, I still want to be able to monitor for fire. Because, maybe the reason we lost power in a building is because there was a mouse or something that chewed on a wire, and, I don't want the fire alarm to not notify me when something happens. So that's all backed up by UPS. Hence, we got to get that UPS in a better state. And once we're done with that, then we're going to move back over to the generator and start troubleshooting more on that. That one's a little bent. So basically, when these connectors are bent like that, it's probably because somebody picked up the battery by the cable and it bent. And again, it's a good idea to, if you have to drill these terminals out yourself or anything like this, to hold it in pliers, because this will spool up if the side of the drill bit catches and it spools up, and you're holding it in your fingy, you're not going to like that. Oh, that one's done. Yeah, it's the third one in. What the hell's going on here? So that one wasn't even 1/4 inch. That one was completely different. Or was it? I don't know. Don't matter at this point. Okay, so now we've got our cables prepped and ready. We'll start moving some of these batteries out. Okay, I'm going to dismount you real quick here, and so you can see in there. So we've got these connectors on each side, and what I got to do is align the batteries in such a way that we meet each connector, because if you notice here, the cables are different lengths. So, I got to point you in the right area. Cable, the black lead is longer than the red, so the cable is kind of oriented toward one side of the battery only. Now, it does look like it is long enough, just eyeballing it, that it doesn't really matter which side. So we're going to test that here in a moment. But hopefully I can just put all the batteries in one way and they reach no matter what. So Now we're going to cable them up. And see what we, where's our thing? So, onto Tractor Supply and got some 5/16 lock washers and nuts. Anywho, all right, so let's get this thing in there. So the way that the bottom of this case is, it has like ridges to give it kind of, you know, structural stability and stuff. So you got to kind of put the battery in at an angle so that it kind of surfs over those drops. All right. Stay. All right. Check this out. Let's get in a little closer. Snap, crackle, pop. All right. So here's what I was talking about with having to orient the batteries differently. So over here, we're definitely going to reach that connector, but if we wanted to, we can't reach that one. So the next battery, you know, because remember, we can only orient the cable one way on the battery. The next battery is going to have to face backwards so that we can hit that connector. So then it's going to be, you know, the label will be this way, then the label will be that way, then the label will be this way, and then the last battery in will, you know, the label will be toward the rear. Let me get you straightened down here. And as you can see, we have a delicate balancing act because I've got this whole thing just sitting on a metal stand, which I use for welding and stuff. So right now it's just kind of a portable workbench. Jesus. But once we get some more batteries in there, it should normalize and be okay. The other nice thing about these cables is they came with the protector, which is a plus. The only problem is I was only able to get 10 of them because that was the auction on eBay. And I need 12 long term in order to fill up the other two cases. The other thing that I'm kind of mulling over in my head is there is, I don't know if I'm in the frame here or not. There's a guy on Facebook up in Syracuse who's got these 12-volt deep cells that come out of cell towers. And they are about $100 a piece, and which is actually cheaper than these. And they're the real deal. So, oh, I didn't actually plug in the other battery. Come on. Plug in. There you go. So those are like legit deep cells that you know, probably still got some life in them. So I'm wondering, you know, for the two main UPSs in the generator shed, if I want to go a different route, instead of, you know, using these deep cells from you know, like a big box store, I actually get like a real like telco grade deep cell. Reason being, well, I mean, number one is probably a better battery, and then number two, the rack configuration in the generator shed. I've got a 2-post rack in there, so these cabinets here probably won't fit in there in that space without some finagling and nonsense. So, you know, if I use a regular, you know, deep cell battery, I would have to craft or, you know, build a rack for it, you know, like a shelf to go in that 2-post rack underneath the 3Ks. So maybe that's the route I go for that, because this type of cabinet ain't gonna fit in there anyway. So, you know, depending on how things go, maybe I get 4 more of these guys down the road and use one of those cabinets for the chicken coop. Or there's some other projects that I've got floating around up here where I may need one of these cabinets somewhere else, like a remote area that we're going to do a point-to-point Wi-Fi to. So kind of mulling things over. I got to make sure that the cables aren't falling down between the cells. Yeah, because I just eyeballed that and it looked like perhaps the batteries are going to stick out a little bit further based on what I've got in there so far, but I don't know, we'll see. Alright, one more. And then we're going to throw the multimeter on the pigtail on the back and see what we get for voltage. So my neighbor up the hill here, they have the, well, I guess you could call it a dairy farm, but basically they lease to an actual dairy farm down the road. And there's some spots that are just too hazardous to put machinery on, like, you know, the big machinery that normal farmers have, because it's just too wet. So the idea is my smaller tractors can get into those spots. So there's some acreage that they're not using and unable to use. So the neighbor's like, hey, you want to come up here and plant some stuff? And I'm like, sure, I like planting stuff. So we may do that this summer. And of course, I'm going to have to keep an eye on that stuff. So we're going to have to put the data network out there. And we're going to do a point-to-point Wi-Fi. And, you know, see how that goes. There. All right. So now, we need our friend, the multimeter. And apparently these probes aren't going to cooperate. Actually, I gotta do that anyway. 50.6 volts. So I think that's pretty close. It's supposed to be 48 total. But the UPS usually holds the batteries at like 54-ish. So I think we're good. I could be totally wrong. These things could burn up in less than 24 hours. Who knows? All right, so let's get this thing loaded into the tractor and bring it up to the chicken coop, and then we're gonna move you guys up there so you can watch. And basically I need to disassemble the old UPS, shoehorn this thing in underneath it, and then connect it in. Hopefully there's no fireworks. All right, stand by. So I gotta play musical junk here real quick. turn the fan on here. Try and move some air so I'm not breathing in all this nonsense from the chickens. All right, so let's go remote here. So here we go. Here's the UPS in all its glory. So we got to take out these 4 battery sleds or chassis or whatever you want to call them. And back here, right there is where our new pack is going to go. So I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, these are all unscrewed. I'm just going to rip this thing apart piecemeal to minimize the weight. Will this thing stay up if we lose battery? Yeah, apparently. Cool. Okay, so that means I can pull the battery out of the actual UPS itself and lighten that. It's about half the weight of that top chassis. So, alright, yeah, so all we gotta do is just get that crap out of there, probably set the actual UPS on its side out of the way, get the new cabinet in there, populate it with the batteries, hook it all together, and we should be good to go. Then we'll give it some time to recharge before we mess around with the generator. Well, not recharge, I guess fully charge. This one's warm. This had to be the bad pack. This one's warm too, and it's leaking. So at some point, I'm going to go through all those batteries and triage them and find out which ones are bad, which ones are good. The bad ones will go down to the recycler, and the good ones we're going to hang on to for other projects down the road. Alright, so now I'm going to carefully flop that thing on its side and then get these other chassis out of the way without crashing into this window. And actually, now that I got this door open, I'm just gonna hide all this crap in there. There. So this is the management cable for the management card. I can already tell it's not long enough, so we got to disconnect that, which is no big deal. Everything should stay up. I hold my breath. Alright, so just trying to kind of get this thing to cooperate because it's got these screws for joining the chassis together, and they stick down, so I need the wood. There we go. Ah, son of a bitch. I hit the circuit breaker with my palm when I picked it up. Well, yeah, it's like a circuit breaker, but it's the on-off switch where this cable plugs in, where the power plugs in. Good thing it's not a customer site. And this thing probably won't chooch back to life. It's not going to restart without 48 volts. So I guess now we're kind of committed to putting the batteries in it and firing it up that way. Plug in. Come on, what the hell? There we go. Yeah. It's a hell of a lot easier when it was up higher. Okay. Let's see what we got. Yay! I gotta go blow my nose. Back to normal. Had to wait about whatever amount of time for the switches and everything to boot back up before we could get access to the UPS management card and Home Assistant, etc. So let's go into film mode here in the kitchen so you can not have any glare on the screen. All right. So here's our guy. We're talking to it again through Home Assistant. It says it's at 55 volts. So here is the actual UPS. We need to kind of make some changes in here in order to update that it's got a new battery and that, you know, all that good stuff. So what is this, March? Yeah, this is March 2024. And that's not really free battery packs anymore. I gotta go grab I gotta find my wireless keyboard here. I don't know. So basically, where it says external batteries there, I'm pretty sure that that is the amount of extra sleds. So I had 3 functional sleds under it at one point. I'm gonna say we've got 2 now, because we still got big monster batteries. But you know, I'm not really sure what the math difference is between these monster deep cells and the OEM little guys. So what's our error up here? UPS batteries so that was at 14/16/21. So that was actually pretty recent. It still thinks there's a battery issue. Can we clear and acknowledge these alarms? Where do we do that? Come on. Somewhere in here we got to be able to acknowledge that alarm and tell it to go away. Or reset the... I bet you we have to do like a runtime calibration in order to satisfy that and make that go away. Probably. Discharge battery, but it's not. Alright, so it passed the self-test, but the battery indicator is still saying that it's got an issue. Well, now it's saying a low battery condition no longer exists. I don't know. Maybe we just let it run for a while. We'll let it percolate. And, you know, we got some other stuff we got to do on the generator engine for troubleshooting. So I think at this point we're going to call it wraps on this little UPS project. We're going to let it charge itself back up, I think. Hopefully that goes higher. We'll check in on it a little later. Can we see that from here? Yes, we can. Okay. So we'll let that do its thing and recharge and see what we get later on, because we're going to have to do a self test on the generator itself. So at that point, this UPS is going to have to be ready to play. So, all right, I think that's good for now. We're going to switch gears and walk down the hill and get in front of the generator and play around with that. All right, see you soon.